chapter 25, Pasuk Tezayin. So over here, we had read yesterday, Hashem says to Moshe, Tzororis HaMidyanim. So, simple reading, understand means, harass the Midyanites. And first harass them, then destroy them. Smite them, because they had come against you. They displayed their hate towards you with their machinations to ensnare you with the Baal Peor, which is the idolatry. And also, they showed their hate for you by allowing the Midianite princess to draw you all into this. So over here, the Orach Chaim, in his commentary, explains I'm just going to read it. I mean, if the obligation was to destroy them, say, Yikisimosam. Why first harass them, then destroy them? Destroy them. So the Orach Chaim, Tzorach lo das, lomo kofal tzrov yikisam. Yisenu zal hirgishu, v'amru ki niskavim b'zel loma shagam shetziva Hashem. So he says, Chazal, the Midrash, addresses this double language, that you have to first harass them and then destroy them. That although normally when you lay siege on a city, you're not permitted to destroy the trees, the fruit trees, because there's a prohibition of baltashchis, being just destructive for no reason. So over here he goes to explain, Tzorchel das man nekama hilzu lemidyon. Ajab hoyul kayim v'chalta shlal levecho. He says, just to the contrary, not destroy them first, destroy their assets, but you should benefit from what they have, which causes it to be even more painful to them, that the Midianites see the Jews are consuming their possessions. So now he says it's a fundamental in tshuva. This is the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. This statement over here was so the Jews should be able to make a correction in terms of when they go to battle against the Midyanites. Every one of us was subject to the evil inclination, and we have desires. And even when we do tshuva, when we did something which we shouldn't have done, as much as we separate, they're fond memories to a degree of that physical experience, whatever the sin was. To be able to achieve a level of feeling that involvement was so distasteful that it was actually painful, that you see it in such a light, it's very difficult to achieve that. And he's going to show that unless a person is able to internalize the negativity of that sin, he's not fully atoned. There's still traces of that sin. As long as the person doesn't reach a level within himself that he still doesn't desire that, whatever line he crossed, he's denied full atonement. Shvash Parshas Bereishis. Hashem had said to Cain after he killed his brother, or this is really by Chava, you will have a desire for him. That desire will always be there. The Jews who were involved with the Balpor, with the women, they actually experience that pleasure of this promiscuity. So even though those who we'll see in a moment who actually perished in the plague, there were others, although they didn't get involved, but in their minds, they benefited from what they saw. And at the time, although they suppressed and they didn't cross the line, but they were exposed to that. And in a certain way, a person somehow in his mind says he wish he could have done it, but the reason why I'm not doing it is because I'm not permitted to do it. So because there was that level of attachment, until you fully get it out of your system, when you do tshuva, the tshuva is not a full tshuva, because you're still connected to that moment of sin. Mehem b'maseh, mehem b'machshava, gam nitku b'por, d'chsiv, v'chovei Shem l'raposam b'atzas Hashem, ha'nechonekei l'salk v'leim ha'magefo. Hashem wants to totally cleanse them. Ha'otim sheshoisam ha'gev mi'Yisrael, ara shesofu tomu kol ha'nismot b'por. The plague affected anybody who was involved in the actual Balpor, who worshipped it. He's saying something interesting. He says 24,000 people died in the plague. But he says, in addition, he says, those people who had an interest in Balpor, besides the ones who were involved in the act itself, now, he says, what actually caused the zealotry of Pinchas? Was it the Balpor? Or he saw the Chil Hashem that the Nasi of Shimon was publicly cohabiting with a Midyanite woman? That's what, because it was Kano and Pogimbo. He was taught by Moshe Rabbeinu that if a person is involved in this type of Chil Hashem, openly, publicly cohabiting with a non-Jewish woman, if you're a zealot, you're obligated to kill that person. So that's what actually activated Pinchas to do his act of zealotry. Pinchas did not kill Zimri because he was involved with the Balpor. Hagam she'oma she'akos lichapra b'nei Yisrael, pir shelo kilo, kol ha'om mehem b'shvil machshavas avodah zorah mehem b'shvil harevus, u'lolam Hashem lo vitel hazonim. So he says, although the Jews had in mind to do the Balpor, or the illicit relations, Pinchas' act of zealotry prevented they shouldn't die. But factually, Hashem didn't look away. There was still a claim against them. That if you go and you understand the person who tried to seduce you, as beautiful as she was, as enticing as it was, if the whole original presentation of this desirable situation was only to bring you to your death and destroy you, it brings out a level of negativity in that person, understanding that was presented to you was only to ensnare you and to actually destroy you. So what originally you saw as being something which was attractive, which can be turned down, but when you understand the intent of the person who presented it, what seemed to be attractive in retrospect, it's something you see as sinister and negative. Gam lahasi v'orev v'atov habo behem la'abed kol eitz nechmod. To expel, expunge from your system, from your emotion, your mind, any positive feeling about that experience of the past. I'll give you an example. A person is thirsty, and a person who offers you a drink that you can't control yourself regarding that particular beverage. And the beverage is laced with arsenic, with poison. And for some reason, the person drops it and you don't drink it. So initially you were very thankful that he was offering it. And he tried to convince you to drink it. And when it falls and breaks, and then you find out afterwards that it was the luckiest moment of your life that you didn't drink it, not only are you happy that you didn't drink it, the person who offered it to you, as much as you believed initially he was giving something to you because he wanted to accommodate you, you cannot tolerate that person's existence because all that seduction was only to destroy you. So over here, Hashem wanted the Jews who were involved, even who visually saw them and thought about this, to understand what their calculation was. That initially all this was only strategized to destroy the Jewish people. So all these women, you should have to see them as worse than the devil. And as a result of that, when you think about that experience, that exposure, you see it in the most negative light. As a result of that, that separates you fully from that particular moment. David Mel says, those who hate you, I will hate. Pirish mesanecha kilu omar masniecha shegormi lesinas bochotov. K'der shazal per komisanei ahevo moves. I mean, those who you cause that God should hate, I will hate. Understanding who these people are. One second. I told a story about at the end of the Holocaust, then all of a sudden one day, it's right before liberation, they didn't realize they were going to be liberated. The Nazis, they distributed loaves of bread to all the inmates in the camp. And people were beyond their excitement. Finally, they've been given portions which are you give to a regular person. Until that, they were denied. And this Jew gets these 3 loaves of bread, and 3 Russians in the camp, non-Jews, they pounce on him, and they beat him unconscious. He goes to unconsciousness. And as he's losing consciousness, he thinks to himself, finally I get food. And now, at this moment, look at my luck. These 3 Gentile Russians, these 3 ruffians, they beat him unconscious. Look at his mazel, okay? He comes to himself a few hours later, and he looks around where he's lying, and he sees all the people who had eaten the bread had died. That the Nazis, they had laced that bread with poison, and they knew the people would eat it with a gusto, and therefore, that was their sinister intent. They knew the camp was going to be liberated, so as many people who they could kill before the liberators come, so they distributed bread. So now the Jew who was beaten to that point of unconsciousness and the bread was taken, he's thankful for that beating. But he understands now how evil these Nazis were. They were trying to maximize, to victimize every Jew they could victimize. So initially you say, whatever it is, as bad as they are, you at least have some shredded, some trace of mercy. Now he sees this is not mercy. It's the same thing. Putting them in a picture to really understand exactly what this is all about. As a result of that, what seemed to be pleasant and attractive, it's something which you despise and you can't tolerate, and there's a level of hate. And as a result of that, it causes a total separation between yourself and that past experience. He says, "Ubemtzos machshavzu tia misrachekes taivus aveiro mehem tielem luzoro." So now the desire originally for that sin is something which is alien and something which a person doesn't want to be associated with. And that will cause the person to develop a spiritual nature. He will become spiritually attuned. And this thought and this feeling towards the past will bring about a full atonement for that thought or that level of attractiveness. And even for the desire of licentiousness and that sexual desire, that also will be actually removed. So he says, so what is Tzoras HaMidyanim? You should see them as the arch enemy. These people are the arch enemy. Which means what seems to be pleasant, you should destroy them with a vengeance, and even their well springs, because it's a representation of who they were, you will destroy them. Regardless of the value, destroy them. And this is one of the corrections had to tshuva. It's very interesting. Kristallnacht, whoever gave the order, it was one of the ministers of Hitler, Yamach Shmo V'Zichro. They destroyed, I don't know, tens and tens of millions of dollars of properties. Besides destroying the synagogues, they destroyed Jewish businesses. And afterwards, Hitler was very upset. Because he said, destroying one thing, the synagogues is one thing. But all these assets that you destroyed as a result of your hate, look at this loss that you caused us. This all could have been ours. The businesses and the inventories, they destroyed everything. That could have all been, and tens of millions of dollars worth of value was destroyed because of their rampage. Now, if they would have thought rationally, why did they destroy it? The answer is the hate for the Jew was so intense, they didn't differentiate. Even though they knew the synagogue is the religion, I understand. That's what a Jew prays. But what about the dry goods in the department store that was owned by the Jew? Why did you destroy that? The answer is because if that is Jewish, we want nothing to do with it. That was the expression of hate at the time. Similarly here, with the Midyanim, we have to destroy every vestige of their representation. There's a halacha that you're not permitted to benefit from any of the assets of Amalek. And that was the sin of Shaul. When he was supposed to destroy the Amalekites, not only was not permitted to leave any survivors, any of their assets, their flocks, their cattle, anything, you're not permitted to benefit anything. It all has to be destroyed. Why? Because it says there should not be a trace of their existence left in existence. Remove it, destroy it. It's the same idea. Because Amalek being the arch enemy of God, and they demonstrated that through the behavior when they attacked us after the splitting of the sea. Hashem says, you have to understand what they are. And you have to appreciate how bad they are. As a result of that, even something that has financial value, you're not permitted to benefit from. It has to be destroyed. Because that activates and puts things in perspective in terms truly how evil they are.